It's time for sports with special guest Frank Hickman joining us live from Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. Frank, we'll get to why you're in Fight Island in a minute, but a lot of people have been asking since yourself and your brother George left Tiger Muay Thai, what was in the works. Dan mentioned earlier in the week that you've got a new space that you boys are opening in 2022. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you boys are up to?
Yeah. So my brother and I and a couple of the other boys, we left Tiger Muay Thai. No hard feelings. We appreciate everything. It was a great 4.5 years for me and longer for my brother. But we wanted to move on and to a new endeavor. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. And kind of on to our own gig. We want to build something. We want to build a culture from at a spot where we can do what we want and how we want to build our culture. So we decided to move on, and we got something opening up in into 2021, early 2022. So very excited for it. You know what I mean? MMA, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, of course, S&C, stuff like that. We'll have the works. And it's the boys, you know what I mean? It's the guys that kind of been with us through since the beginning and have stuck with it. And it's all the same group of guys, so we're excited for it. We got everybody from Freestyle Fight Gym in Wollongong, Australia on our side. We got everybody from Auckland, New Zealand on our side. We got a lot of people backing us and stuff like that and supporting it and are looking forward to it as well. So it's another spot to where the boys want to get out. You know what I mean? The boys are always welcome. Maybe do a couple weeks there of a stint. If something ever happens, we can do that. So we're just looking forward to it, man. It's in the process right now. It's being built and everything, but we are excited and a bit nerve-wracking at the same time, but I guess that's expected when you kind of branch out on your own and open something new. So, we're just crossing our T's, dotting our I's, and looking forward to it, man. I'm excited, bit worried there for a bit because, once you get the wheels and going and the motor turning, then you kind of start questioning everything. And it's a bit more difficult for me because my 4-week stint in March over here turned into, coming up on 7-8 months now. I've been in the States. So, I've been away from everything. Just been keeping up with everything in the group chat. But like I said, the boys have done a great job of handling it while I've been gone. So I'm very excited and looking forward to eventually getting back and getting the ball rolling.
So that'll be in Phuket, right?
It will be. You'll know the location soon enough. I mean, pretty sure everybody really already knows anyway, but it's a beautiful part of the island.
Do you guys have a name for the gym yet?
We do have a name for the gym. You'll find that out soon enough as well. But the name for the gym, I'm sure once it gets leaked and stuff like that, then it'll all be good. But in the meantime, it's exciting. So looking forward to it, man. Getting the boys out, getting around it. December, January starts high season in Thailand. So that's the perfect time of the year to get everything back going. You want wrestling? We got wrestling. MMA, jiu-jitsu, we got it all. So we plan on hitting the ground running and building something really special.
How have the last few months been for you? Obviously, like you say, your 4-week stint in the States has turned into months and months and months. You linked up with Syndicate MMA while you've been over there. Just how has this year been for you?
This year's been great so far. This past month and a half has been outstanding. Volk defended his belt. Hooker won a unanimous decision. We had a big night. Boys hit the Raiders game the next day. We kept it going for a while as far as like just having, fun and then just kind of taking all the experience in Las Vegas, pickleball on Sundays for recovery, a couple of VIP tickets to these golf tournaments that we don't know fuck all about golf, but we sure do enjoy watching it, you know, on our off day when we got downtime, you know. And then other than that, it's just been training 3 times a day, every day of the week except really Sunday, and focusing on that. When it's time to do the work, we roll our sleeves up, we get to work. And then when it's, you know, Sunday, we do a little bit of pickleball, kind of relax, take it easy. It's college football season right now. Bama's been playing, you know, 5-1. They're doing all right. And other than that, man, just trying to stay healthy, trying to stay focused, you know. Could be much worse. Let's put it that way, my man. It could be much worse, but you know, the goal for me for the past 4 weeks has been, you know, focusing on Hooker, making sure we tighten the hatch on everything, keep him healthy. Got out here, Hemi's here, Dougie's here. It's great to see the boys. Haven't seen them, you know, since pre-COVID. You know, back in March when when Romero fought Izzy. So that's the last time I really saw them. So it's been good to see him and catch up and stuff like that. You know, yeah, we're staying at the Hilton. It's a nice place. Can't complain.
Sweet, man. I know it's been sort of, I guess, good for the City Kickboxing group to have you over there. I know you worked a lot with Jenna while she went over there when Selby couldn't join her.
Yeah.
Has that just kind of helped you get through these past few months, having all these things to do?
Has Jenna helped me get through these past months?
No, not just Jenna.
Nah, I'm kidding. Flatmate update, as I call. Flatmate update. No, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed. The last time I was in Auckland, I was there for about 7 weeks, literally. And Jenna was my roommate, you know, so we stayed at like 3-4 different Airbnbs together. So she's good people. She was out here a bit for her first fight. We were filming the show. I was helping her a bit. And then when the show ended, the boys fought in Arizona like 2.5, 3 weeks later. So I stayed another 2.5 weeks at the Airbnb with her and Selby. Slept on the couch, comfy couch. And we just trained, shit like that. She fought, won. And then she had a tough one in the semifinals of the PFL. But yeah, she finished up her camp in New Zealand and then came over like the last week, which I thought was pretty smart on her. And, you know, she could have came a bit earlier, but, you know, it was would have been a bit more difficult. So she did her camp, finished up with her team, came over and got to see her and stuff. Didn't come out the way she wanted to, but she just made weight last night, 155. She's the alternate. You know, hopefully, you know, best of luck to those girls, but hopefully maybe one of them catches food poisoning and Jenna has to step in and wins $1 million, you know?
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario for Jenna, right?
Best case scenario, yes, sir.
So, man, now you're in Fight Island. You've got Doug and Hemi there helping you guys out in this last week preparing for Islam. How much does having them there help with, I guess, just strengthening Dan's striking over these next few days when you guys have probably done a whole lot of wrestling?
Well, I think when we got to Fight Island, we switched the roles. I'm going to handle the striking, while Dougie's going to handle the wrestling. So if you look at it that way, we're right on schedule where we need to be with everything. It's been good. It's good to see the faces and keep the same energy, and the atmosphere is good. So yeah, I think it's just nice to have some of the boys from his hometown, you know, the hometown gym that have been with him a very long time here as well. You know, I'm fortunate to come with him, but to have these guys here as well it makes it easy for all of us. You know, everybody can they're a bit laid back as far as we just talk shit the whole time to each other and just try to keep it light and stay sharp with everything. And, you know, the plan is to go out there, get your hand raised, collect a check, get out, you know, without taking the least amount of damage, and you know, get back to it.
You mentioned the show before. Obviously, you were part of the Ultimate Fighter team with Alex Volkanovski. What did you make of that whole experience?
I loved it. You know, it was absolutely, it was great, man. I was very nervous going into it, especially like the first couple of days because they got these microphones on you and some of the stuff we talk about. I'm like, we got to be careful, boys. So like you're always like checking for the mic, but it was and it started off rocky. You know, we lost our first 4 fights, but then we came back through, and then the icing on the cake was when fought Ortega and beat him and defended his belt. But it was the boys, everybody, the boys were all cool, everybody on the staff. I'll be honest with you, living with Joe Lopez for 5 weeks was a fucking struggle. It was a struggle, but we made it through nonetheless, and barely, but couldn't be happier. You know what I mean? So it was a good time.
Yeah, I was talking to Joe a couple of weeks ago, and he reckons Craig Jones has an hour-long video of you guys just getting Joe triggered.
Let me tell you something. Joe might be one of the easiest mans to trigger. And the love and the passion that he has for Craig Jones is second to none. So, like, it was very easy. I don't know if it was an hour, but it was damn near 51 minutes, I'd say. I mean, it was, and it doesn't take much again to spin Joe up. So when he gets spun up, he just keeps going and going and going. And Craig was very good at it, at getting them going. But Joe loved it, you know what I mean? Because that's his man crush.
Fair enough. I have someone wanting to know, MMA Gone Wild on Twitter wants to know what was the best prank that didn't get aired on the show? Because I know you guys were doing a lot of that kind of thing behind the scenes.
I'll be honest with you, man. The pranks that they did on the show, they didn't really give us like any credit for. And like, but we're no like masterminds when it comes to the pranks. But I think we had a couple of good ones that when we asked about it, they were like, no, I can't do this. No, I can't do that. They were stroking old boy a bit, like they were kind of making sure things could be catered a bit to him, you know, now that it's over and we, you know, gave him all hiding. But I think the best one that didn't get aired was, you know, when you use the restroom, the urinals, and they got the like mints to where they like make it smell good, you know? Well, we took the face after Ortega lost to Holloway when he was like, oh, you know, he's beat up and like black eyed and stuff. And we put this face on the urinal things. We put them all around the PI. So you were just like pissing on it. And that was like one of the pranks we did that I thought was pretty good. I thought it was actually great, but they didn't air it. They didn't put it up, but you know, nonetheless, not here nor there, but that was the one we did. Craig did a couple good ones as well that they didn't air either. So the only one we did that they aired was the clock, which probably could have done a better one, but man, everything we tried, they just kept shooting it down. We were like, oh, we're gonna do this. No, can't do that. Okay, well, we do this. Unfortunately, boys, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, fuck, what can we do? You know? So, but there was a couple of good ones that we did. But I think that was the best one that didn't get aired.
When you watch the show back, how do you feel like watching it and living it was different? Like, what was the narrative like that got presented compared to what was actually going on?
You know, oh man, we didn't really know what they were going to do. Like, we thought, you know, when we were down 0-4, I think we were all I was considering a career change. You know, I was tightening up my resume, sending it to a couple of the car dealerships back in Atlanta. I was going to go back to pushing the pavement, but and the boys were turning on each other in the kitchen. But nah, we didn't really know how they were going to swing it. And then after that, when things started to pick up and go in our direction, and we went on that run, that momentum, everything changed. Our whole tune changed, and you know, just needed a bit more time with the boys because they were all very coachable. And you know, Volk and Joe, they're such, you know, they're good coaches and they're good at relaying information and, you know, passing it along and how to go about things. And all right, this is what you should do for this reason and try this. And the boys just really picked up on it, and they took a liking to it, and it was great. And watching the show back, you don't really know what they're going to show. Like, you never know. Like, you know, before I went on the show, my dad was like, hey, don't do anything that's going to embarrass your mother. Okay. And I was like, yes, sir, I won't. So I was pretty sharp. You know, I try to be on my P's and Q's, try to be, you know, respectful and everything. But you just, sometimes that microphone's on you and you don't know. And you're like talking to the, you know, me and Woody are in the corner chatting about God knows what. And then we realize it's still on us. And they got people walking around, but they got like a box and there's like one through 8. Each team gets like a camera and there's 1 through 8. And, you know, each guy's labeled, you know, 1 through 8. And then there's the coaches, each have a number. So like, they'll just be flipping through, like trying to pick up dirt and listen in on stuff. And I'm just like, man, you guys are the worst. But yeah, it was overall great experience. Would definitely do it again if I had the chance.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people online after those first few weeks weren't going so well for you guys. I was starting to think, is Team Volkanovski actually going to win a fight? And then to have 4 guys fighting in the final, I mean, that just had to be the cherry on top of things, right?
Oh, of course. And, you know, actually, that Tresean Gore, he's a tough kid. Carolina boy, he got hurt, unfortunately. But now he is going to fight Bryan Battle. They announced that the other day. So him and Bryan Battle fight. They'll settle that. Hopefully Battle gets it done, which I think he will. And then, you know, they can't really say anything after that if that happens. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, man, it was nerve-wracking at the beginning. I ain't going to lie. Fuck. We were all sweating, you know. The day of the fights when we woke up the second go around. And I remember for breakfast, it was pretty quiet. And then we had to give a pep talk to get the boys going, you know, watch a bit of Gladiator the night before to get our minds right. So we tried to be sharp. And it did. It paid off, you know. We just needed a bit more time with the guys. Because, you know, when they pick teams, like you pick teams, and then you got a week, just a week until they fight. So you basically get them in fight week. So for some guys, it's just like they just focus on their weight and it's just very light. You can't do much with them, you know. So we had to just keep them light, focus on the other guys.
When you talk about Bryan fighting Tresean Gore coming up, do you think that's a fight that Bryan really needed to have, or is it just a good thing to be able to put that together?
Well, okay, I'll do that. I think it's a fight that I think Bryan wants to have. You know, Bryan, that's probably a battle with himself that he has to prove, you know, because he's from North Carolina. He's a North Carolina boy. So Tresean's a South Carolina boy. So it's the battle of the Carolinas, you know. Obviously, Bryan was on my team. I'm a North Carolina guy myself. So I want him to win that for sure. But I think that's something that he probably, like, when they offered it, he was like, yeah, I'll do that. You know, I think, and to Bryan's respect, he probably said, you know what, Tresean deserves it. You know, Tresean got hurt. Unfortunately, we'll run it back. And, you know, that's what he did. He didn't mind that. You know, he fought Gil, his former teammate. He beat Gil. Gil's a tough competitor. Bryan won the Ultimate Fighter, walked away with $100,000 in the bank. And great. That's awesome for him, man. I'm so happy for him. So I think him in this next fight will be a good fight.
Just on this weekend, what do you make of Islam Makhachev and preparing for a test like this?
Islam Makhachev, he's a tough competitor. Everybody knows what he's very, very good at. So everybody knows what Dan's very good at. So you know, styles make fights, and I think this is a very interesting matchup. Anytime you have 2 guys who are very good at their craft, at what they do. Dan's never had a boring fight, as you guys know. It's never been a boring fight. So, and Islam's great at what he does again. So you got to focus on our strengths, but also focus on where his weaknesses and where he's weak at, but also be aware of his strengths as well. You know, you can't, you know, a lot of times, you know, you can kind of look at it like wrestling. You don't want to focus so much on what the guy does really, really well, but you can't ignore that, right? You want to focus on what you do really well and at the same time neutralize what he does good, but also try to exploit his weaknesses. So whether that's his gas tank, whether that's his striking, you know, whether that's his wrestling, just, you know, it's a fight. It's 50 minutes, you know what I mean? So I'm very excited for it, you know, keeping them sharp with everything. weight's fine, healthy, light on his feet, laughing. You know, it's good to have the boys here again like that because we're just talking shit the whole time. And I think that's what makes it, you know, good. Some teams are very uptight with everything, but we're usually trying to see who breaks first.
So, and you mentioned pickleball a lot earlier. Can you just kind of explain to us down this end of the world what that is? Apparently, you're really, really good at it. I hear you're the pickleball king.
But,
so,
man, pickleball is something we picked up, and it is an addicting game. It's like tennis, but more of like a badminton mixture. But it's just fun. Like, you know, we went one Sunday, this kid kept kicking on about this pickleball. And I'm like, what is he on about, this fucking pickleball? And then I go play it. And I'm like, man, like on the way back, like we were in the car on the way back to the house. I was like, damn, that's addicting. He was like, yeah, it is. He goes, I'm going to have to join the club when we get back to Auckland. So now we rock up to the summit and we play these Sunday mornings, like active recovery for man, 2.5, bro. We played 3 hours the other day. And it's just, I love it because like, you're always moving and it's, I mean, we played with like these, not older ladies, but these ladies are like in their 50s and they're like humming it, like humming it at me, like making me miss and hitting the corners, like just a good shot. Then you got like these like 10-year-old kids out here who are serving to you and you can't even see the serve coming. And I'm like, what? So then you got to resort to like shit talking and trying to get in their heads of these like 12-year-old kids, you know what I mean? I'm like, you know, or the old lady, or not the older ladies, but like, you know, the ladies, you try to stir them up a bit too and try to get them to break down. And then when they start losing it, then you can start like, you know, sometimes that's our game plan. You know, we'll go in and we're just like, hey, we'll just get into them early. You know, they miss 1 or 2 shots, just start firing away. All right, got it. And it's addicting. It's fun, man. It's very, very fun. It's enjoyable. Like I said, we do it for about 2.5, 3 hours, but like we're constantly moving and stuff like that. So like, you know, on Sunday mornings, we don't just like really sleep in. We're up and we go do that. And then the rest of the day, depending on how we want to go about it, we can kind of figure out the game plan from there. And then come Monday, we're right back into it.
Sweet, man. Who's better, you or Dan?
Don't hunt what you can't kill. You know what I mean? I'll probably say the Hangman. I give it to the Hangman. Keep his confidence up for fight week. Yeah, he's when he's on, he's on. You know what I mean? Like when he gets into it, he's on. A lot of it too can be your partner and stuff like that. Like I enjoy playing with Dan because like we're both very competitive and like we're both pretty good at like talking shit to stir the people up, you know what I mean? So and we're just like 2 athletes playing against these people who, you know, like David Goggins' wife and stuff like that. Like she's good, man, but a couple of times you rattle her a bit. It's good, but I'd say Dan.
Oh, good. And just before I let you go, I got some more questions from the people in the social realm to fire at you. Justin Bleedington wants to know what could be done to raise the profile and participation rates of juniors in wrestling in New Zealand. I know you're not from New Zealand, but you spend enough time here to, I guess, have some sort of feeling for it.
I would say join a wrestling class. You know, you don't know how good you are till you try something. I think, you know, Andre Paulette, the Romanian, the other half of the Ukrainian weight cut team, runs a phenomenal program, a phenomenal class at City Kickboxing. He's been doing it for years. You know, I tell people, they're like, oh, you're the wrestling coach of the boys. Well, I'm the assistant wrestling coach to the boys. Like Andre's the head coach. Andre does a phenomenal job and he's been doing so for years. So, you know, if there's somebody in New Zealand that you want to talk to or get into it about wrestling, it's definitely Andre. And you know, the classes he runs at City Kickboxing and stuff, you need to get to him and you need to give it a go because his knowledge, he's wrestled at the highest level, you know, in freestyle. So his knowledge is there, believe me. So that's what I would recommend. If you want to get more juniors involved, you need to get to more wrestling classes. You know what I mean?
Sweet. And BGLNZ, it's a little bit of a wordy question, so I'll just shorten it. It's basically, at the gist of it, is wrestling the best base for MMA?
You're asking me that.
Yeah, asking a wrestler if wrestling's the best.
You know, the more I'm around high level striking than these guys, I think striking is very, very important. I think wrestling is the one base that you need to have. You need to know, right? Whether you're a striker and you're just there to defend takedowns and you don't want to shoot, just have damn good defense. Just be able to get off bottom every time. I would say wrestling is at the top as far as your best foundation to have. Yes, next to the whole striking as well.
Hunter 12789. I mean, these guys sound like bots, but I'm sure they're real people. Is it difficult or easy to prepare for a matchup like Islam Makhachev?
It's like anybody else, I guess. You know where he's good. You do a lot of wrestling, but you also don't stray away from your other strengths. You don't stray away from striking, from Dan's stand-up, from his grappling. I mean, wrestling's always been part of the boys at City's camp. I mean, those dudes wrestle 2-3 days a week. It should be called City Wrestling, if I'm honest with you. They wrestle that much. So wrestling's not new to them. I don't know why people always, the commentators always like, oh man, New Zealand's wrestling is really coming. They've had great wrestling. Like they know how to wrestle. Yes, Islam's a very good wrestler. He comes from, Dagestan, which has some of the best wrestling in the world. But for 15 minutes, that's what we need. We need 15 minutes of his wrestling, of our wrestling being better. It may not even have to come to that. Dan may be so good on the feet with the striking and everything. But the amount of guys that we brought in for, Ben, Big Bill, Poppy, we've had a lot of bigger guys that, former college wrestlers that have helped with the camp at Syndicate and stuff like that. We've just position, new bodies, putting ourselves in positions that we think we're going to get in countless times, over and over. And that's just what we've done, try not to stray away too much from the game plan. Just, be ready for whatever.
Just lastly from me, how vocal or how in your ear has Eugene been over these past couple of weeks in the lead up to this fight?
He's been very, very vocal. We're we got the group chat. So we chat quite a bit in the group chat. Sometimes he's a hard man to get a hold of. I'll tell you that much.
You're telling me.
Let me tell you something. The Corbin is a hard man to get a hold of sometimes, but sometimes he's not. And when you do, it's always a good chat. You just don't, communication is everything. Keep him in the loop with everything like that, making sure we cross our T's, dot our I's, and that's what we've been doing.
Sweet, man. Well, I'll leave it at that and let you get back to it. Thank you very much for your time and all the best for the new venture whenever you guys do open that up.
Shut ups. You're welcome anytime, brother.